Tottenham 0, Chelsea 1. Tottenham, Chelsea were very, very comfortable in your ends. Very, very comfortable in your stadium, your billion-dollar stadium. They were super comfortable. What happened? Spurs were incredibly poor today. I have to start out by saying that. They were very, very bad today, and they've been struggling at home, and it showed today. That performance at home against a London rival, a team that it feels like most times when you guys are going to play up against each other, it's like a cup final for you. That level of performance is shocking. It's not shocking because you're Spurs, but it's shocking just in general. I'm sure you guys expected to perform better than what you did. Tottenham had 0 shots on target in the first half, and I think they ended the game with 1 shot on target at home. That's nuts. That toilet bowl was quiet. It was quiet in there. Library settings, for sure. I think those fans were shocked. Now, the best player on the pitch today was Moises Caicedo. Moises Caicedo was the best player on the pitch, full stop, for both teams. He was head and shoulders above everyone else, and that was a world-class performance from him, and he should take credit for that goal. The goal that Chelsea scored was Moises Caicedo's goal. He picked that ball off of Spence and Van de Ven. It was kind of like some tomfoolery going on over there. He picked it off of them, slotted over to João Pedro. He deserves all the credit for that goal, and to me, from minute 1 to minute 90, was the best player on the pitch. But that goal has to be considered an error by Tottenham between Spence and Van de Ven. Somebody made a mistake there because that whole sequence of play where they were just bumbling around with it, Pedro Neto makes a mistake, Spence kind of bumbles around with the ball, it gets loose, it gets to somebody. It's like, it was all just kind of like, what's going on? Why can't you guys just figure this out? Can somebody just take the ball? Like, what's going on? That was definitely an error. And Spurs lead the league in errors leading to a goal. And the only team that's near them and their level in this is Wolves, and they are bottom of the table. So Tottenham have been kicking themselves in games. And you can see that with that particular goal, because even though Caicedo was really good for that goal, and he kind of was relentless in his pursuit, because I think he could sense that they were not very organized, that whole thing could have been totally avoided. And so to me, that was an error leading to goal from somebody at Tottenham, and Caicedo in particular took advantage of that. Tottenham are now suffering more injuries. Bergvall came off really early in that game and was replaced by Xavi Simons. We'll get to him in just a second. But Bergvall coming off, he's starting games over Xavi Simons. Xavi Simons was meant to be a big signing for Spurs, somebody that was meant to come in the absence of James Maddison and Kulusevski, and he is behind a child in the pecking order. I just want to put that in perspective. Simons, at least not yet, is not a Premier League level 10. James Maddison has proved over the years that he is like the quintessential Premier League number 10. He's somebody that gives you goals and assists, has tons of creativity, good on set pieces, good penalties, all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't feel like you have one less midfielder when he plays in the 10. He doesn't have to be shunted out wide. You don't have to change your formation. You can put him in the 10 and your solidity and your defensive structure is still intact. Thomas Frank does not trust Xavi Simons yet, or he just full stop does not trust him to play in that position or in midfield. So they're putting him in different positions, trying to move him around on the chessboard. And as a result, Thomas Frank is deploying one of the smelliest midfields I've seen in a long time in Bentancur, Palhinha, and Sarr. That midfield, although a workhorse midfield, if that's what you want to call it, lacks any sort of creative anything. And I mean, it smells. I don't know how Tottenham fans are watching that midfield. They offered absolutely nothing in that game. That's a terrible midfield in terms of the balance is just not there. It's not that the individual players are actually decent players, right? Palhinha, good player. We know him from the Premier League. He went to Bayern and came back. Sarr, good young player. Bentancur, starter for Uruguay. Like, we know that these are good players, but together, it's an eyesore. It really, really is. And it just lacks creativity. But without Kulusevski or James Maddison, I think Thomas Frank is choosing solidity over the holes that the midfield would have if they just put Xavi Simons in there or somebody else. And the only other player that he seems to trust is Bergvall to be in and around the midfield, but not even him because he was going to be playing in a different position. Xavi Simons was smelly today. That was a stinky, stinky performance. But I'm not surprised because he really has not hit the ground running at all. And the thing about somebody like Xavi Simons is that he needs space. When you come from the Bundesliga, you are so used to having all this space around you. Once you get to the Premier League, you got guys like Caicedo closing you down. It's dark days for somebody like Xavi Simons. And he wasn't necessarily uninvolved completely because there were times where you saw him pick up the ball, but it was really deep in positions that Chelsea are happy for him to be in. They're happy for him to be in situations where he's really far away from the goal and he's just pinging the ball to, Kudus or somebody else. In the times that he could get into those areas in and around the box, they were very few and far between, and he lost hella duels. He was getting bopped left and right. And the times that I saw him tracking runners, I mean, like I said, he is not a Premier League creative midfielder as of yet. He is being shunted out to the wing or playing in forward positions and outside of midfield to get some creativity from him, but not to lose your defensive structure because he is not trusted by Thomas Frank. He was hooked and justifiably so. There were two challenges in this game that were looked at for red cards, and I think both outcomes were fair. And I would love to know what you guys think about this because I think Bentancur's challenge was an orange card in a big game where you don't want to skew anything and it's not so overtly bad that you have to give the red. I think it's okay for Bentancur just to get the yellow in that situation. And I also think when you turn it around and look at Enzo Fernandez's challenge in real time, not the still, but in real time, it really wasn't that rash. He does make contact with the knee, but it's not like the knee is buckling in or anything like that. It really was a yellow as well, or like high kind of like orange tariff kind of thing. But I actually think the referee made a good decision on both of those situations because, I'm all for the big games being understanding that when rivals, big games like this, the temperatures rise. And so there's going to be more bad tackles. And in order, I think the levels need to go up just ever so slightly. If you're not like killing the person and it's not like so reckless and dangerous, like you could genuinely make a argument for either one to be a yellow or a red. I think it was a good decision to just give them yellows so that we keep guys on the pitch so that it could be a good watch. I know people don't like that, but it's only a problem when referees do that when they're not fair on both sides, or if the foul is just that bad where it needs to be a red. Do you get what I'm saying? So I think that he made a good decision in both situations. Both were basically like orange cards. It could have went either way. If he gives the red, you can't really complain, but giving them the yellows, make sure that the game can kind of like keep going in the regular way that it's meant to. And everybody's kind of like happy with that. Nobody was decapitated. Nobody was off on a stretcher. It really wasn't that deep, if that makes sense. I think the referee actually did a really good job. Now, Danso looked a mess, by the way. He actually stood out to me as one of Spurs' worst performers. I think on the ball and defensively, he was really shaky. Whenever the ball came to him in a position where he could pass it, he just held onto it. And I think he slowed down a lot of Spurs' progression. The sooner that Romero gets fit for them, the better that they'll be because there's no other center back that they possess within their team that can help them. They are on life support. Danso looked a mess. And at one point he was bullied by João Pedro. And I was like, yeah, it's time to take him off. And where Caicedo was the best player on the pitch and obviously Chelsea's man of the match, I think Vicario was Spurs' man of the match, best player. He made some good saves and kept that game. He kept that game close. I'll say that. He made a couple of really good saves. I think Chelsea also helped them by not being clinical. That really should have been like 4-0, I feel like. I really think that Chelsea were that dominant and they had that many good open play chances, or good, big chances. They really did. But Vicario kept that game as close as it could possibly be. He was definitely Spurs' best player on the day. But yeah, make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel on your way out, and definitely get into the comment section and let me know what you guys thought about this game, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.